In the floating colony of Nexura Prime, the richest and most powerful people lived in tall glass towers that touched the sky. Among them was Cyrus Valon, a young millionaire with a sharp smile and even sharper suits. He owned several companies, tech, energy, and even luxury food drones. Everyone knew his name and everyone knew his attitude. He was rich, confident, and didn't care about anything serious. One morning, Cyrus received a golden invitation. It was for the Orion Gala, the most famous event in the entire sector. Only the most important people were invited: ambassadors, scientists, military commanders, and rich business leaders. It was not just a party. It was a place where the future of planets was quietly decided over drinks and dances. Cyrus leaned back in his gravity chair, holding the shining card. His AI assistant, XEN3, floated nearby in a sleek orb shape. "Sir, this event is crucial for networking. It is not wise to treat it casually," the AI said in a calm voice. Cyrus smirked. "XEN, you know me. I don't go to parties to talk politics. I go to enjoy myself." The eye didn't respond, but a light blinked in silent disagreement. Cyrus tapped the invitation against his chin, thinking, everyone's going to bring models, CEOs, or diplomats as their plus ones. What if I did something different? He stood up suddenly and walked through his bright, automated mansion. Down the hall, past the art walls and food printers, he stopped at the service quarters. Inside, quietly folding sheets, stood a young woman with soft brown hair tied in a bun and simple gray clothes. Her name was Mira. She had worked in Cyrus's mansion for over a year. She was quiet, polite, and never spoke unless spoken to. She was fast, efficient, and almost invisible in the grand house. "Mira," Cyrus said with a grin. "Do you have a dress?" She looked up, surprised. "Sir, you're coming with me to the Orion Gala, as my guest." Her eyes widened. "Me? Yes, you," he said, amused. "I think it'll be fun." Mira stood still for a moment. She looked at him, then lowered her eyes. "If you wish, sir." Cyrus laughed lightly. "Great. Zen will arrange something suitable for you. Dress nice and don't be shy." He walked away with a satisfied smirk. He imagined the faces of the elite when he showed up with a maid. He thought it would be funny and maybe a little bold. People would talk about it. Maybe they would even admire his confidence for doing something so unexpected. But XEN hovered behind him silently, calculating. "Sir," the AI finally said, "are you certain you understand who Myra truly is?" Cyrus raised an eyebrow. "She's a maid. What else would she be? Perhaps more than you think." The next evening came quickly. Cyrus wore a black crystal suit designed by the fashion bots of Venus. His hair was perfect. His boots shined, and his smile was as charming as ever. Then Mira entered. She wore a long silver blue gown. It shimmered like moonlight on water. Her hair was tied in soft waves, and a single glowing pendant hung from her neck. She didn't wear heavy makeup or fancy jewelry. And yet, when she walked, there was a strange grace in her steps. Even Cyrus blinked in surprise. He hadn't expected her to clean up so well. "You look—" He paused. Very presentable." Mira only nodded. "Thank you, sir." Zen hovered between them. "The gala transport is ready." The Orion Gala was held in the floating palace of Lumen's spire, high above the capital zone. The ballroom was made of transparent crystal, giving the feeling of walking among the stars. Lights sparkled around the edges, and alien musicians played soft, strange melodies. As Cyrus walked in with Myra by his side, the chatter in the room slowed, heads turned. Cameras blinked. Some guests whispered to each other. "Is that his maid? Maybe it's a joke. Maybe he lost a bet." Cyrus enjoyed the attention. He smiled and nodded to familiar faces, pretending not to notice the whispering. Mira, however, kept her eyes straight, walking calmly beside him. Her posture was perfect. and her expression unreadable. One of the ambassadors from the alien race Lyrixians, named Valon, approached them. "Mr. Valon," the alien said in a soft musical voice, "and your companion. May I ask your name?" "My lady," Mira bowed slightly. "I am Mira." Valon tilted his head, eyes glowing gently. "Your aura, it is very calm. You speak as one trained in the ancient ways." "I was raised by my mother," she said simply. "She taught me to observe, to listen, and to carry respect in all things." Valon smiled. "A rare teaching in these times." Cyrus watched the exchange, confused. He didn't expect an alien ambassador to speak with his maid, and definitely not with respect. The rest of the evening went on. Food floated elegantly on gravity trays. Speeches were made. Deals were quietly discussed in corners. And all around, people kept looking at Mira, wondering who she really was. Cyrus began to notice it too. She was too graceful, too composed. When others tried to talk down to her, she answered kindly but never let herself be insulted. When someone joked about Earth traditions, she gently corrected them, showing surprising knowledge of history and language. XEN, Cyrus whispered when he had a moment alone. "Did you do a background scan on her?" "I attempted to, sir. But her private records are locked by high-level encryption protocols." Cyrus frowned. Interesting. By the end of the evening, more people were talking about Mira than about the gala itself. But the real surprise was yet to come. The crystal ballroom of Lumen Spire sparkled like the surface of a calm lake under the stars. Celebrities, military generals, alien ambassadors, and brilliant scientists filled the massive space, dressed in flowing robes, shining suits, and glowing ornaments. Every guest looked like they belonged to a dream or a galaxy far beyond imagination. Cyrus Valon walked among them like he owned the place. And many believed he did, in a way. His companies built half the AI systems used in the colony sectors. People moved aside when they saw him coming. But today, they moved aside for another reason. Everyone noticed the woman by his side. She was not a model or a powerful diplomat. She didn't wear jewels or fly in on a private pod ship. She was Mira, his housemaid. And yet, she walked through that glittering room with a calmness that made people stop and look again. "She's so ... quiet," someone whispered. "Too quiet," another added. "She looks like she's done this before." But Cyrus, proud of his little prank, wore a smug smile. He sipped a glass of fruit foam wine and greeted people with charm. Some guests approached. "Him, Mr. Valon," said a short Martian designer. "I must say, your date is quite ... unique." "She works for me," Cyrus said with a half smile. "I thought I'd bring someone real this time." A few chuckled politely. Others raised eyebrows. "She's interesting," someone else added. "What does she do?" "She folds towels." "Like an artist," Cyrus joked, waving his hand, but when he turned, Mira was already speaking with a group of guests. She wasn't loud. She didn't brag or try to impress. But the way she listened and the way she answered questions drew people. An old Terra-born general asked, "You speak the old tongue?" Mira nodded. "Yes, General, I learned from my mother. It was our family tradition." Another guest, a music professor from Saturn's moon Enceladus, overheard and asked, "Do you sing?" Earth had many ancient songs that are now lost. Mira hesitated, then gave a soft smile, a little. "But only for myself." The professor looked amazed. "That is rare. The original Earth soul ballads are considered extinct. None exist in archives." Cyrus stood a little distance away, watching. He wasn't sure if he was still in control of the situation. He had brought Mira as a joke, a surprising guest to get a few laughs and curious glances. But now people were surrounding her with genuine interest. "XEN," he said quietly to his AI assistant. "Yes, sir?" "Run another check on Mira. Something deep." This is starting to feel ... odd. XEN's core pulsed a soft blue. Already trying, sir, but her file is more encrypted than any regular citizen. Even more than some high-ranking officers. Cyrus frowned. That doesn't make sense. At that moment, the music softened, and the host of the gala stepped forward onto the central platform. Distinguished guests, he said, his voice carried by small drones across the room. Tonight, we celebrate not just politics and progress, but the culture that binds our stars together. As is tradition, we now open the stage to volunteers. Anyone may come forward to perform music, story, or art from their people's past. The crowd clapped lightly. Some guests looked around, waiting to see who would go up. Cyrus sipped his drink and leaned over to Myra. "You should sing something," he said, half teasing. "Surprise everyone." Myra looked at him with steady eyes. "Do you really want that, sir?" He raised an eyebrow. "Sure, why not? Let's finish the joke properly." Without another word, Myra turned and walked toward the center stage. Cyrus blinked, surprised. "Wait, she's actually doing it?" Someone near him whispered. Myra stepped up quietly. The host looked puzzled for a moment, but nodded politely. "Your name, my lady?" "Myra," she said softly. "And what will you perform?" "An Earth soul ballad, passed down from before the colony age." The room stirred. Whispers spread fast. "Impossible. There are no surviving soul ballads. She must be faking." But then she closed her eyes and began to sing. It started as a soft hum, low and calm, like wind through ancient trees. Then her voice rose, pure and clear. It carried across the ballroom like a river of sound. There were no instruments, only her voice. But it felt as if the room itself had become the music. The words were old. Some didn't make sense to the modern ear. Yet everyone understood. The song told a story of loss and love, of humans who looked up at the stars with hope, and of those who were left behind. It spoke of mothers and sons, of laughter and war, of memories buried in time. It was sad but not hopeless. Gentle but powerful. As Myra sang, something strange began to happen. People stopped moving. They stopped whispering. Some lowered their glasses. Others wiped their eyes without realizing it. Even the aliens in the room who didn't understand Earth languages felt something deep in their hearts. A soldier from the Titan War dropped to one knee, tears running down his face. An alien diplomat trembled, saying, "I see my ancestors." Even XEN, the emotionless AI assistant, whispered in Cyrus's ear, "I am experiencing unfamiliar data streams. Is this what you call sorrow?" Cyrus didn't answer. He was frozen in place, staring at Myra. She was no longer a maid in a pretty dress. She was something more, something ancient and powerful. Her voice wasn't just singing, it was remembering. It was reviving the forgotten spirit of Earth. When the last note faded into silence, the room remained still. Then someone clapped, and another. Then the entire hall stood and clapped, loud and strong like thunder in space. Myra bowed gently and stepped down. Her face was calm, but her eyes were moist. Cyrus tried to speak, but no words came out. The applause had faded, but the silence that followed Myra's performance was deeper than before. It was not awkward or uncomfortable. It was filled with thought, memory, and something else. Something people didn't expect to feel at a high society. Jayla. Respect. Cyrus Valon stood near the edge of the ballroom, his mind spinning. He had come to the gala to show off. He brought Myra to make people talk, to cause a little harmless surprise. But now, everyone was talking for a different reason. "She sang a real soul ballad," said a voice nearby. "I felt things I didn't know I had buried," whispered an old war veteran. Even the alien guests, some of whom had never visited Earth, stood in quiet groups, their eyes glowing softly. The Lyrixian ambassador Valon walked toward Myra with slow, graceful steps. "You carry more than a melody," he said gently. You carry the memory of a world. Mira bowed her head slightly. Thank you, Ambassador. I only shared what was given to me. Valon studied her closely. How did you learn that song? That dialect? It's from before the fall of old Earth's harmony period. We thought all traces were lost. My mother taught me. And her mother taught her, Mira replied. It was passed down through voice alone. No recordings, no technology. Cyrus, now standing closer, couldn't keep quiet. You told me. You were just a maid. Mira looked at him. Her face was calm, but her voice was firmer than usual. I am a maid, sir. But I am also the daughter of a keeper. A keeper? He asked, confused. Valon turned to Cyrus. She means she is from a bloodline that protects ancient Earth knowledge. Cultural guardians. They were hunted in some colonies after the purge. Most were believed dead or in hiding. Cyrus blinked. So all this time. You never asked who I was, Mira said softly. You only saw what I did for you. Her words weren't angry. They were simply the truth. Back in the center of the room, the gala's host tried to return the evening to normal. But the mood had shifted. The next performances, light dances and holographic art, felt empty compared to what had just happened. People still whispered Mira's name. A few even approached Cyrus, this time with genuine curiosity. Is she available for public concerts? Can she teach at the Cultural Academy? Cyrus didn't have answers. After the event ended, he and Mira left in silence. The night air outside Lumen Spire was quiet, except for the distant hum of transport ships in the hovercar. Cyrus sat across from Mira, staring at her. I don't get it, he said at last. Why work as a maid in my house? With your knowledge, your voice, you could have gone anywhere. Mira looked out the window before speaking. Because places like your house are safe. Because people don't expect much from a maid. And because not all songs are meant to be sung every day. Cyrus leaned forward, more serious than usual. But that song, it did something to people. Even XEN said it felt something. The AI assistant's orb floated quietly above them, confirmed. My data systems detected multiple emotion simulation patterns. Mira's song triggered rare neural responses in both organic and artificial listeners. Cyrus let out a low breath. So you were hiding your talent? I wasn't hiding, Mira answered. I was waiting. Waiting for what? For the right moment. For the right ears. The next day, the network channels across Nexura Prime were full of clips from the gala. Although no official recording had been made, dozens of guests had secretly captured Mira's performance. The title on most headlines read, "The Maid Who Made the Galaxy Cry." Some articles praised her. Others were skeptical. Unknown singer. Sheikh's elite event with raw emotion. Was her song real? Experts debate lost Earth dialect. But not everyone was happy. In the shadows of the colony's government towers, a group called the Purity Council held a meeting. They were powerful. Silent rulers behind many systems. Their goal, keep order, erase chaos, and control culture. They had worked hard to remove old Earth ideas that stirred emotions. One council leader, an older man with silver eyes, said, "That girl's song reawakened things we've buried. If more like her speak up, we may lose control. We must stop her," another said. "Erase her records. Silence her before others follow." But Mira had already become a symbol. Meanwhile, back at Cyrus's mansion, things were different. For the first time, Cyrus felt unsure of himself. He sat in his office, watching a replay of the performance on loop. Mira's voice echoed through the room. She changed the air itself, he whispered. XEN hovered nearby. "Sir, may I offer a suggestion?" "Go ahead. You should speak to her, not as her employer, but as someone who wishes to understand." Cyrus nodded. He walked through the quiet halls of his mansion. He found Mira in the garden. kneeling beside a bed of glowing flowers she had planted herself. He sat beside her on the soft stone bench. "I want to learn," he said simply. "Not just about you, but about everything you know." Mira looked at him. For the first time, her eyes showed a hint of surprise. "Why?" she asked. "Because yesterday I was rich. Today I realized I'm empty. You opened something I didn't even know I had lost." Mira didn't reply right away. She placed her hand gently on the soil, then looked at the stars above. "All right," she said at last. "I'll teach you. But remember, some songs are beautiful, and some are painful. Both are part of the truth." Cyrus nodded. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a leader or a businessman. He felt like a student. Days passed, but the memory of Mira's voice still echoed across the colony. From busy market stations to quiet starships, people played her soul ballad again and again. Her voice reminded them of something long forgotten: home, heart, and heritage. Cyrus Valon's mansion was no longer just a place for luxury. Now visitors came daily: journalists, musicians, historians, and even leaders. All wanted to meet the woman who brought tears to a galaxy. But Mira stayed out of the spotlight. She remained calm, quiet, and respectful. She spoke only when needed, and avoided interviews. Her life hadn't changed in her eyes. She still watered the garden in the mornings, folded towels with care, and helped with chores. Still, the world around her was changing fast. One morning, as sunlight passed through the crystal windows, Cyrus sat in the living hall reading a message on his datapad. His brow was tight with concern. "It's from the Cultural Preservation Society," he said aloud. "They want Mira to speak at the Unity Council next month." Zen-3 hovered close by. "Expected, sir. Her song has become a symbol of Earth's lost heritage. Many believe she holds more than just memory. They believe she is a key. A key to what?" "To what humanity forgot," the AI answered. "Before the colonies, before machines took over culture, before peace cost us our feelings." Cyrus set the pad down and looked toward the garden. Mira was kneeling, gently brushing dust from an old stone statue of Earth's tree symbol. Walked out to her. "Mira, we need to talk." She stood and turned toward him. "You've become a message to the galaxy," he said. "They want to hear more, sing more, teach more." Mira nodded. "Yes, I expected this." "You did?" She smiled slightly. The old songs were never just songs. They were seeds. When sung with truth, they grow inside others. But now people want you to lead something bigger. "I do not wish to lead," she said softly. "I wish to awaken." That night, Cyrus couldn't sleep. The stars outside his window looked different now, less like empty lights, more like ancient watchers. He kept remembering her words. "I do not wish to lead. I wish to awaken." He thought about himself. His life was full of tech, power, and money, but how much of it mattered? The next morning, he called a private meeting. He invited Mira, XEN, and his legal advisor, Dr. Nella Vire, to the chamber. "I want to sponsor Mira's cultural project," he said directly. "We'll build an archive, a living one. Not just data and files, but music, stories, emotions. She be the voice. I'll fund it." Mira looked at him, quiet. "I'm serious," he said. "You made me see things differently. Let me help you do the same for others." Dr. Vire raised a hand. "There will be pushback. Not everyone wants the past remembered. The Purity Council, especially. They see emotions as disorder." "I know," Cyrus said, "but let them come. We'll be ready." Mira slowly nodded. "Very well, but if we do this, we do it with truth, not glamour." Agreed. Word spread fast. The Mira Project was born, a cultural movement supported by artists, historians, and common people across Nexura Prime and nearby colonies. Small concerts, workshops, and memory circles started appearing everywhere. People began singing old songs. Not only Earth melodies, but also lost Martian chants, lunar poems, and even forgotten alien lullabies. A wave of emotional awakening began. For many, it was the first time they had cried in years, and they welcomed it. But trouble was not far behind. Inside a hidden chamber on the dark side of the colony, the Purity Council gathered. They were silent men and women with steel-like eyes and thin expressions. They controlled education, culture, and history in many colonies. They believed peace came through order by removing chaos, passion, and pain. And Mira's music threatened all of it. The girl sings forbidden's memory. One council member said, "She opens wounds we had already closed," said another. "We must act before the fire spreads." They sent agents, quiet men in black suits, pretending to be officials. They visited schools where children sang Mira's songs. They shut down open circles where memories were shared. They deleted recordings online, but it was too late. Mira's voice had already touched too many. One evening, Cyrus received an alert. His security system had detected an unauthorized entry in Mira's room. He rushed in with XEN by his side. The room was untouched, except for one thing. Mira's pendant was gone. It wasn't an ordinary pendant. It contained a memory crystal, a rare device that stored generations of voice recordings, passed secretly through Mira's family line. Zen ran a scan. No signs of forced entry, cloak tech used. Signature matches black-grade agents. Cyrus tightened his fists. The council. Mira entered the room behind them. She didn't seem shocked. "They took it?" she asked. "Yes," Cyrus said. "I'll get it back. I'll bring my lawyers, my drones." But Mira shook her head. "No, that pendant is only a vessel. The songs are inside me. They cannot take what I have become." Zen added, "Still, sir, this is a warning. The council is ready to fight." Cyrus looked at Mira. "Then we'll fight back. With light, not fear. With truth, not silence." A few days later, a secret invitation was sent across multiple networks. It was not signed. It read only, "One song, one night, all stars welcome. Bring your ears, bring your heart." The location: the Skywell Theater, an old observatory dome abandoned for years. No one knew who organized it. But everyone knew who would sing. Mira. And the council would be watching. The night of this secret event had arrived. The old Skywell Theater was once a place where people came to look at the stars and learn about the universe. But now, it had a new purpose. Light drones floated above, casting soft glows on the worn glass walls. Rows of seats, once covered in dust, had been cleaned by volunteers. A gentle hum of anticipation filled the air. There was no security at the doors, no red carpet, no name tags or guards. People came quietly, one by one, in plain clothes, humans, aliens, young and old, workers and teachers, even retired soldiers. They all came because they had heard Mira's voice once, and now they wanted to hear it again. In a back room, Mira stood quietly, preparing. She wore a simple dress. No jewelry, no makeup, no technology. Just her voice, her memory, and her calm heart. Cyrus stood beside her, nervous. "Are you ready?" he asked. Mira nodded. "Yes." XEN3 hovered between them. Crowd estimate: over 3,000 in person. Over 100,000 live viewers across secure networks. Cyrus raised an eyebrow. "That many?" "Yes, sir, including multiple colonies. Even some hidden AI societies are listening." Mira took a slow breath. "Then we must begin." She walked out onto the center stage. No spotlight followed her. She didn't need one. The quiet presence she carried was enough. As she stepped into the dome, the crowd fell into silence. Cyrus sat near the front. His hands were tight. He didn't know what Mira would sing tonight. She hadn't told anyone. Mira looked around the room. Her eyes moved from face to face, faces full of hope, sadness, questions, and longing. Then she closed her eyes. and began. The song she chose was older than memory. It had no title, no written form. It was passed through whispers and breath. Its melody changed slightly with each singer, shaped by the singer's soul. Her voice was soft at first, like the beginning of a dream. Then it grew stronger, carrying emotions like waves. It told of a time before machines, when humans still cried without shame, when they laughed without fear, when they told stories beside real fires under open skies. The song spoke of truth, not just historical truth, but the truth people feel inside their hearts when they miss something they never had. It reminded people of what they had lost and what they could still find. As she sang, people began to cry. Again, just like at the gala. But this time, it wasn't quiet. Some wept openly. Some hugged each other tightly. Some closed their eyes and remembered people they thought they had forgotten. One older woman, a retired pilot, whispered, "I remember my father's voice. He used to sing this. I thought I forgot it forever." Even the aliens in the room responded. A lyric-seeing priest touched his chest, whispering, "Her sadness is universal." But not everyone was moved. Outside the Skywell Theater, black transport. Ships landed silently. The Purity Council had arrived. They wore smooth dark suits and emotionless masks. They didn't bring weapons, but they brought something worse: silence devices. These small machines could block all sound, erase digital streams, and wipe recordings. They moved fast. One unit entered the theater control room and shut down the live broadcast. Another tried to reach the stage entrance. Cyrus, watching from his seat, received a signal from XEN. "Sir," the AI whispered. "Council agents are moving inside. The broadcast is cut." Cyrus stood quickly. "How long until they reach Mira?" "Less than 1 minute." He turned to the crowd and shouted, "Don't let them silence her." But the audience was already standing, not in panic but in unity. They formed a line in front of the stage. Humans, aliens, even a few A's in human-like shells. They didn't shout or fight. They just stood there, peaceful, strong, protective. When the agents reached the theater entrance, they saw the crowd. They held out orders, but no one moved. No one stepped aside. Inside, Mira kept singing. Even as the digital silence tried to press in, her voice grew louder. Not with force, but with feeling. The machines could block tech, but they could not block the human heart. People took out old recording devices, analog ones that couldn't be jammed. Others began humming with her, repeating her tune. It became a wave of emotion that no system could control. The council agents stopped. One of them, a young man in a dark uniform, looked at Mira. Tears were falling from his eyes, yet he didn't understand why. He turned off his silencer. The others looked at him in shock, but he said only one word: "Let her finish." And Mira sang until the last note faded into the stars. Then there was silence. A real silence, deep and full. The kind that follows something important. The kind that wraps around your soul and stays there. Then, applause. A roar of applause. People stood. They cheered. They shouted her name, Mira. Mira. Even the agents stood motionless, unsure of what to do now. Cyrus stepped onto the stage beside her. "You've done more than I ever imagined," he said softly. "You've changed the colony." Mira looked at him, tired but peaceful. "I didn't change it," she said. "I just reminded it who it was." The news could not be stopped. Even though the live feed was cut, thousands of recordings were uploaded. From personal devices. Across the galaxy, people began to sing. A song without a name was now sung in marketplaces, on cargo ships, in schools, and in space domes. It became a sign of hope and truth. The Purity Council could not stop it. They couldn't erase it, because it now lived inside millions. And it had all started because a young billionaire took his maid to a gala. Mira's song had turned into a spark, and now that spark had become a fire across the galaxy. From quiet mining stations to floating market cities, people everywhere were singing. Not just her song, but old songs from their families, cultures, and forgotten worlds. For the first time in decades, humans and aliens began sharing emotions openly. The fear of feeling was breaking, but with light came shadows. The Purity Council had failed to stop the Skywell Theater performance. They had lost control. And for them, that was dangerous. Inside a cold black tower on a hidden moon, the council met again. The highest members dressed in gray robes sat in silence before a large screen showing Mira's face. "She must be stopped," said the Grand Examiner. "She is not violent," another member argued. "She only sings. She opens memories. She brings back pain, passion, and rebellion. Feelings cause chaos." The room agreed. They made a new decision. This time, they would not try to erase the song. They would erase Mira. Back on Nexura Prime, Mira was standing in the center of a large glass dome. It was the first building of the living archive, the dream she and Cyrus had worked on together. It wasn't a museum or a library. It was a place where people could feel history. No walls of silence, no rules to forget. Just truth. Mira sat in a circle with a group of children. Each child came from a different background: Earthborn, Marsborn, even a half-human, half-Kalari child. They were listening to her story about the old Earth days when people gathered around fire to tell stories. Instead of looking at screens, Cyrus watched from the side. He smiled. This was real. This mattered more than any business deal he had ever made. Suddenly, XEN3 floated in quickly, blinking red. "Sir, urgent alert. Mira is in danger." Cyrus stood straight. "What happened?" "The Purity Council has sent agents. Armed this time, not with silencers. With removal orders." "You mean assassination?" "Yes, sir." "Target, Myra. Location, here." Cyrus turned to the children. "Get them to safety." Mira stood calmly. She had heard everything. "I won't run," she said softly. "We won't let them hurt you." Cyrus replied, "We'll protect you." "But—" "I am not a fighter, Cyrus. I sing. And you're not alone anymore." In less than 10 minutes, the courtyard outside the archive was full, not with soldiers but with people. People who had heard Mira's voice. People who had felt changed. There were students, traders, doctors, mechanics, even former council workers. Some held nothing but candles. Others brought old musical instruments. Many stood in silence when the council's black transport ships landed. The people did not move. The agents stepped out in black armor, weapons at their sides. They marched forward in lines, their masks hiding their faces. But when they reached the crowd, something unexpected happened. The people began to sing, softly at first. Familiar melody, the one Mira sang at the gala. Then it grew louder. The agents stopped. They were not trained for this. Not for a weapon made of words. Not for a wall made of song. Inside the archive, Mira stepped out and walked through the crowd. She stood in front of the armed agents and sang with them. Her voice rose above all others, strong and bright like the rising sun. One of the younger agents lowered his weapon. His hand shook. Another took off his helmet and dropped it to the ground. Then, one by one, the others did the same. None could resist the truth in her voice. Later that night, after the agents had retreated and the people had returned home, Mira sat quietly with Cyrus in the archive dome. The stars shined above them through the glass ceiling. "You saved yourself with your song," Cyrus said, still in awe. Mira shook her head gently. "I didn't save myself. The people did. Because they finally heard their own voices. You're more than just a singer now. You've become a symbol of something greater." "I'm not the only one," she replied. "There are others like me, keepers, rememberers, truth speakers. Some still hide. Some are afraid." "Not anymore," Cyrus said. "You gave them a reason to come out." Across the galaxy, change had begun. The Purity Council lost followers. Entire districts removed their silence laws. Schools reopened music and emotion classes. Cultural centers were rebuilt. Families started sharing stories again. The colonies were remembering what it meant to feel. Mira received thousands of messages, letters, voice clips, even paintings. Some came from planets she had never visited. Some from places where music had been banned for generations. And yet, even with all this attention, she remained the same. Simple, quiet, strong. She continued to teach. She helped build archives. She trained young voices to sing songs of truth. Cyrus stayed by her side, not as a rich man trying to impress the world, but as a true supporter, a friend, and maybe something more. One evening, under the same tree, in her garden where she had once sat folding towels, Mira and Cyrus sat again. But now they sat as equals. "I used to think power came from control," Cyrus said. "And now? Now I think power comes from memory, from emotion, from meaning." Mira smiled gently. "Then you've truly learned." That night, as Mira slept, her dreams were filled with lights, not of wealth or buildings, but of faces. Faces of people she had healed with her voice. Faces of children who would carry her songs. Faces of a galaxy that had almost forgotten its heart, but had now begun to find it again. The months following the Skywell Theater performance had changed everything. Mira was no longer a simple maid or a quiet woman folding towels in Cyrus Valon's mansion. She had become a symbol, a voice of truth, memory, and hope for an entire galaxy. Yet, despite the praise and attention, Mira remained humble and calm. She continued her daily routines, tending her garden, teaching children, and singing old songs with a gentle heart. Cyrus watched her with a new respect. He was no longer just a rich man playing games. He had become her protector, her partner, and perhaps something more. But one night, a secret from Mira's past was about to come to light. A truth so powerful that it would change everything once again. The living archives dome was quiet under the stars. Mira sat alone on a bench, her eyes reflecting the shimmering lights above. Suddenly, a soft knock came from the entrance. She stood and walked toward the door. There, a figure waited, a man cloaked in simple robes, his face kind but tired. "Mira," he said softly, "it has been a long time." She studied him carefully. "Father?" He nodded. "Yes, I have traveled far to see you." Mira's eyes filled with tears she did not hide. "Why now?" He sighed. "Because the time has come. The story you sing is more than a song. It is our family's legacy." He told her about the Keepers, an ancient order devoted to protecting the original knowledge of old Earth. They preserved songs, stories, and memories that machines and rulers tried to erase. "For centuries," he explained, "we hid in shadows. We passed our knowledge quietly, waiting for the right moment to awaken hearts again." "Why did you let me work as a maid?" Mira asked. "Because you needed to learn the world as it is, to understand both power and humility. Your voice is strong, but your heart is what makes it true." Mira listened carefully as her father spoke of danger, the Purity Council's growing fear, their efforts to silence keepers like her, and the importance of the living archive. "But you are not alone," he said. "The keepers still exist. They will stand with you." Cyrus joined them, having overheard parts of the conversation. He looked at Mira's father with respect. "So this is why Mira's records were so encrypted," Cyrus said. "She carries history not only in her voice but in her blood." Her father smiled. "Yes, and that makes her powerful." Mira nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She was no longer just a singer or a maid. She was a keeper, a guardian of memory and truth. In the days that followed, Mira gathered the keepers who had hidden in secret across colonies. They came as teachers, singers, storytellers, and artists, all united to protect their culture. Together, they worked to expand the living archive. It became a place where anyone could come to learn old songs, hear lost stories, and remember what it meant to feel deeply. The Purity Council tried once more to interfere. But this time, they met a united front. People from many worlds stood with Mira and the Keepers. They sang in streets, performed in plazas, and shared memories in homes. The council's power began to fade. One evening, at a large gathering in the living archive, Mira stepped forward to speak. She looked out at the crowd, thousands of faces, shining with hope and courage. "I was once a maid," she said simply. The crowd listened quietly, but inside me was the song of my people, the song of Earth, and of all who remember. She paused, her voice steady. "We cannot forget who we are. We cannot let fear silence us. Our memories, our feelings, our stories, they are what make us human. They are what make us alive." The crowd erupted in cheers. After the speech, Cyrus took Mira's hand gently. "You have changed the galaxy," he said, "and you've changed me." Mira smiled softly. "We changed each other." Their eyes met, full of trust and a promise of shared futures. As the stars twinkled outside the glass dome, Mira's voice rose once again, singing a new song. It was not just a melody from the past, but a song of the present and future. A song of hope, strength, and unity. A song for all who would listen and remember.